It's a warm one today, isn't it? It's warm. How is everyone? Are you feeling good? Are you feeling amazing? I'm warm. It is warm. Do you make logos, Gothic? Just curious, when I saw your feed earlier, I was thinking, right, do you make logos? I do logos. I do. I have got a Gothic theme. So. Oh. Yeah, Brother Polar TDI. Oh, and I recognise that name a few times. That Ashley. And that Polar TDI. If I do recognise your name, I will remember. You're welcome. Nice bit of art. I'm always coming up with new ideas myself. You know, where to take something to the next level, or a different take on something. That's art, isn't it? So, I do have a topic today. I was debating not coming on because it's so warm. I was actually thinking maybe I'll stay offline because it is warm. Plus I've been out in it to experience how warm it is. So, been out in the sun. So I'm nice and relaxed now. But yeah, I've got a topic for our soul tribe today. TikTok is very up and down. Is that for our genre? Do you mean like gothic stuff or fantasy stuff? Hi. You got to say that gothic or gothic rock or bohemian gothic type stuff. It's a niche by itself, isn't it? Within, just like gothic is, it's not as mainstream, so it's not as easy to find things, I find. Whether it be an item of clothing or just something for the house, or I know when I was just looking for gothic beds, probably maximum of about 5, even 8 on the internet. You won't be able to walk into a shop, a bedding shop, and be able to find a gothic bed. Nice big ornate one, Well, you never know, do you, what people's interest is. That'd be amazing, isn't it? 250 likes. 250, that's it, yeah. Oh, it will be sticky in London. It'd be actually rather cooking down there. Let's hope for the wind. That was the only thing when I was out in it earlier, was the slight bit of breeze in between. It's just nice. Well, it's like those, when they're on trend, those dance ones. After a while, they get on my nerves. But they all get large views. Who knows? It might boost him. It might pay for advertising and everything on him to get him out of that TikTok jail of the 100, 200 mark. But it's quite funny that really it's the same as marketing though. Technically, it's only 1%, but it's getting that 1% on average to your followers. Unless if you're looking, it steps out of them. It depends whether they advertise themselves or whether they actually have a manager or they have a group to go to, don't they? Yeah, but I know there's not enough like gothic or spiritual, you know, like if you think about it in a city centre perspective, you know, how many places other than, you've only got probably one store in your city that will be gothic. That's why I was comparing, thinking, you know, what about beds? And I mean literally, type in gothic beds, you'll find probably 5, 8 on the internet. More groups. It's like trying to find your soul tribe, even in spiritual stuff. Like even in my stuff, because like Stoic spiritual stuff that we're into, you know, it's not the majority, is it? The majority of people are not going through it. But I like unique stuff. I like individual stuff. Same as I like cross shops. I like brick and brack shops. You know, I like going to vintage shops. If I can find something that, you know, you can repurpose or do something with it, do it up and stuff, it's amazing. I mean, you're not interested in song. And I always say each to their own, you know. Some people are into AMSR, aren't they? SR, yeah. Some people are into watching people get ready. Some people are into watching fitness videos. You know? Each to their own, that's what I always say. So I hope everybody's had an amazing weekend. If you've got some time to have some stillness in the mind. Freedom. Warm kids, good to yours. That would be fun, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? Some people might be into that. Who knows? Some people might be into like rubber gloves. A few months back, everybody went a bit crackers when I did that one time when I came on with gloves. I was doing a bit of an alter ego. Like show up red dress on. I would stick out like a sore thumb. Don't you think? I have actually got a red dress, but I can't get it on. It's one of those t-shirt dresses. I can't put it on. Is my tongue pierced? No, it's not. Why? Excuse me, are you into tongue piercing? Some people are, some people aren't, you know what I mean? Funny. Simon says, you know what I mean? Point your tongue in this direction, Simon says. I might not conform. I am my own being. Your gift. Hey, that's bribery. I'm not bothered if you do or you don't. That's the beauty of me. If you want a gift, you'll gift. If you don't, you won't. Such is life. Hello. Good day. Are you going to be part of our soul tribe? You're going to be part of our spiritual group. You know what I mean? keep it in. What am I keep it in the closet? I'm keeping it in the closet today. I'm behaving in every way. My mindset, emotion, is growing in devotion. I'm a poet sometimes, but I have to delve deep. Sometimes I just go. Sometimes I'm in the flow and I just keep going. But forever not knowing, because that is the fact of life. Knowing a minuscule of that, you know what I mean? But you know, wonder. So that's me. But I bring big topics of conversation just because I like to make myself think. And if it helps other people think, bonus! Makes you think, makes you wonder, makes you go, doesn't look at it that way. You know what I mean? Because there is black and white, but there is a grey shaded area. But communication is the key, because communicate in the moment. But that's why it's always in the power of now when you talk about manifestations. Like if you're doing your affirmations to affirm yourself into the manifestation, it's always in the power of now. Anybody that wants to co-host, please introduce yourself. I don't co-host with anybody that hasn't come to my life and introduced themselves. Just the way I am, sat nam. You know what I mean? Borders and divides, stranger, real time. I don't know who you are, but I will get to know people, but it takes time. It takes time to get to know people. Yep. Just respecting my boundaries and my borders, because like really, you know, I have done it before. I've opened up and had chats with people that I've never spoke to, and then we just don't really have a conversation online. Or the other way, you can't get a conversation going because they're just constantly talking. So I think it's just only polite that people come and introduce themselves first, don't you? If they want to come in your live stream or they want to co-host with you. So today, conscious speech. My discussion about loving yourself and self-respect. Your own conscious speech, being conscious of your thoughts, as I say, your thoughts, words and actions, your deeds. I don't know what it's about, but you know, whatever people's intentions are to connect, maybe just got people of random. Maybe people don't really think about it. But I'm not an overthinker. but I do, like, I will philosophise deeply about something. You know what I mean? But I'm the type of woman that sees things in infinite possibilities, so I don't have a limited mindset, so to speak, as it is. So, welcome. If you found me, or you want to be like ourselves, in your own soul tribe, but being luminous yourself, but also feeling like you're part of a collective, exploring your own teachings and your own philosophies and reasoning with yourself, exploring teachers from others, and really coming from a place within the heart, letting things flow from the heart, straight from the heart. Having a more mindful living, being mindful of our thoughts, being mindful of our words. I meant to make it today. I know, I thought I just needed to be a bit cooler. Not to have too tight clothing on. I did yesterday, I had shorts, that was alright, yeah, but I still felt a bit warm yesterday. Maybe unconsciously merging in with the kitchen. This is about learning about our own conscious speech, the art of respecting ourselves. I'm not married. Not married. So yeah, how to care for your own spirit. It's alright. Maybe it was just a little assumption of yourself rather than actually knowing and getting to know me and then going, right, you know bits about me. Yeah, you only connected last week, so there may be bits that you missed. So, because some people do ask me sometimes. So, taking better care of ourselves, not living in survival mode. Living in the moment, in the mindfulness of the moment. Being in the present. Loving yourself more deeply. Being in that quiet harmony with yourself. Learning to honour your own spirit. Truly know yourself. You know, when you talk about authenticity or being genuine, it's looking at the shadow parts of yourself as well, so that you can get to that genuine place within yourself. I suppose my conversation sometimes is about people that might have lost their way on the path. Sometimes we just wander off. Sometimes people lose sight of their own needs. Or simply wants and understands themselves. So regardless whether you feel you've wandered off 20 times, part of your healing journey, sometimes you can sometimes feel like you're going around in circles. Sometimes you can feel that you're in such a dark place that you don't know if you're going to get out of it. And sometimes you can feel like you've jumped on and jumped off, jumped on and jumped off, so different ways all the time. Yeah, depending on how you feel. Sometimes you feel more deeply, sometimes you feel more in a zone, sometimes you feel more in a flow. But I think it's actually living in quiet harmony with yourself, even when you do feel stagnant, even when you feel bored, lonely, depressed, down. I think if you actually embrace yourself and love yourself and respect yourself when you're in those places, you learn then not to get down, because you've seen those very dark places. You've felt them and empathised with them. So I think that's why cognitively you rewire your mind to think very, very differently. Being in quite harmony with yourself and in peace, in your peace. You know, I've come to realise over the years, I did this years ago, but not so much now. I tend to feel and think for myself if I do want to do something. But how many times have you actually found yourself saying yes to someone out of guilt? You don't feel true to yourself, so you feel a bit guilty. So you'll say yeah, but really you then thinking of dodging it later and trying to get out of it. What's the point of that? Why not be more conscious in your thoughts and thinking ahead of time of being true to yourself? That's what being true to yourself and true to another truly means, in its rawest, simplest context. When you actually simplify things. If you actually sat back and observed it, so say if somebody invites you to something and you're just thinking in the back of your mind, well, I really don't want to go, but or a few other people are making you feel a bit guilt-tripped, so you then say yeah when you don't really want to. Trying to then back out of it afterwards, taking even more time and energy rather than be congruent with your own truth, your own perspective in a situation. Or agreeing to things that drain you, letting things continue that drain you. Yeah. Smiling through something just to is it convenient? Convenient. So it's convenient to others. That's why I sometimes now, in my own selfishness, say to people, think about yourself most of all. Number one. Yeah, your family, yeah, your relationships are important. But to respect and love yourself, you would be a bit more selfish. Knowing when to say no and when to say yes. Because it feels right for you. Doing things for other people when your heart was actually whispering to yourself, no, not do it. That's why it's the same if you then enter into any form of relationship, friendship or anything with anybody. Surely you would think about it before you did it. And then you can't blame the other person because you made the decision and the choice to go into it. It's not like that. It's just that we have to be more conscious. And that's what today is about. Being more conscious. Many of us get tangled. We lose ourselves trying to be agreeable, amenable, flexible. All things for all people, but not actually true to ourselves. Some people say yes to avoid being disliked. Some people do things just to be liked. a lot of people do things to avoid discomfort. But I think most importantly, when you start to be more conscious, is conscious of your own truth. What is your truth? And don't get resentful towards another person or exhausted with something without communicating. If you care about the other person, then you'll consider their needs as well as your own. That's being conscious. Consciousness can extend beyond oneself and to another. Hello. It's the same as when you do spiritual practice. Today, doing well, fine in this warm weather, this hot stickiness. It is what it is. Conscious speech, like any form of spiritual practice, whether you're practicing your silence, whether you're practicing your stillness. I don't really know what the temperature is here in Sheffield. Outside it felt about maybe 26, maybe a bit higher, but I'm trying to be, not over exaggerating. Felt warmer. And I want you to be one of your lovely friends. That means I'm being a friend to myself, which I am a friend to myself. If you read what you say. That's alright. I don't judge. I just, if it reads how it reads. You know what I mean? That's why I repeat it back, so that you can read it back to yourself. Yeah, from sunny Sheffield. I'm not born and bred here, but it is my home. It's my place of peace. I have been here for many, many years. Good day, you. Hello. So the other person wants to know I'm from. I've just said that I am from Sheffield. And where do I come from today? Today I am in my black and white exciting kitchen where the paranormal portals open up into dimensions of time and space within unlimited possibilities. But only if you are of the like-minded ilk will you understand the concept of the spiritual practice in which I attain daily. If that went wee over there somewhere, if you're not meant to understand, it's not for you. If you're meant to understand, you'll get it. That's how life is. True. Well, you haven't actually technically met me because we're on a screen. Yeah, I'm very sort of, I am quite precise because I'm very conscious of fallacy, fiction, illusion, and what's reality. That's okay. If you get it, you get it, you know what I mean? Just when we philosophise, just sit back, have a cup of tea or coffee, even have a smoke while I'm speaking, or just let it like drift on through. And it'll really make you think, you know. Do you have strong and soft energy? Yes, it's good to have. I'll meet you. My energy is strong. I'll meet you. Okay, well, do I get a say in the matter? Just just saying now about our conscious speak and knowing when to say yes and when to say no. Or just having peace in your decisions and choices. So, learning to speak from a place of clarity. You know, trying to be calm. I mean, knowing when to let the fire burn. And when to just light the match and have a little flame. But me, Tony, how are you? Myself, I'm good. I'm relaxed. I'm in a very chilled mindset, to be honest, at the moment. You know, very calm, very balanced, very peaceful, I do feel at the moment. Making the most of it, because obviously my mood changes. I'm a Pisces. Yep. That's alright. I'm not really here to chat anybody up either. I flirted with the motion of the notion of whatever, you know, bit of banter, fine, I mean, great. Learning off each other, bonus. If you get on and have some nice times and high vibes, even better. I'm better, not bitter. At that stage in my life. You can't help what your senses tell you. What do your senses tell you? I like good conversations. The misfits, the poets. To stay here in the depths of the mind. To go in the recesses of the subconscious. To delve into Pandora's box, to go deeper within. Yeah, what, when, why, where, how. How now, broke cow? Who, what, why, where, how. Open-ended questions, by asking open-ended questions even to yourself and philosophizing about life. That's what I'm interested in. The philosophy of life. Hello. I think that's why I've become more and more conscious over the years. You know, I felt very conscious even 20 years ago, let alone 15, but more so now it's just always making sure that even if people don't understand, sharing parts of myself that's authentic and just being true to myself, regardless. Pandora's box is full of treats. I even make boredom look neat. Oh yeah. Time is just a slow drip from a tap. Who is the controller of time, not us. That is where time we wish we could get more back. But the trick is to have ourselves living in the present, trying not to regret the past. But when you look back, it feels like it's gone so quick. Hi. So speaking from a place of clarity, a place of peace, concise, yeah, in every yes and every no is an act of your own self-respect. Even if other people don't respect, eventually respect is earned, it's not deserved. But then when you have your own boundaries and stuff, people then have no option but to respect you. Because you respect yourself. Also knowing that you don't owe anyone an explanation if you don't want to. You could say the same philosophy for water as you can for wind, any element of nature. Try to describe water in any deeper context than it's wet, it's cold, it's warm, it's delicious. To really get into the depth of what it actually means, like the wind and the water. Hello. Elements of nature is so mysterious because, like oxygen, like air, we feel it. We can see it when it's in motion in some form, but we can't feel it. It's the same with water. Water is life. Water in ourselves. And I think that's why when you become spiritual, it's you know, you do delve into the negative side because you look truly at the shadow, but you're then more conscious about yourself, you see, because you know that you're water, so you're conscious of your thoughts anyway. It's not then just a practice, it's a way of life. You do it naturally. Sometimes I have things that give you food for thought, because once you understand that our perception changes, we don't fundamentally change ourselves. You know, people might say, "Oh, you've changed," but we haven't. We've just come back to ourselves. In the truest sense, when you're being authentic and genuine and things like I say, not caring what people think, but caring about oneself. And once you become conscious, you naturally start to radiate that caring for another. So even though you might technically not care what people think, or you might not need to give people explanations, you are caring because you're doing the right thing by saying and not saying things when they're right or when they're not, or when they're right for you. Not just because someone pokes and says, tell them. And even so, the most spiritual thing that you could sometimes say to yourself is, this just doesn't feel right for me. Thank you, but no thank you. Yeah, or thank you for your time, but, you know, end of a journey or the beginning of one. You're only round the corner. The corner of life, or the crossroads, you know. And sometimes if you're not sure, do nothing at all. Sheffield, to me, doesn't feel big, but Sheffield to a lot of other people feels big. My awareness. How do you measure awareness? I suppose that would be the fundamental question to ask yourself back. How do you measure awareness? You could be conscious that you are aware, but how aware of your own consciousness? See, to me, I know a lot of people use the word ego, and I do sometimes, but you'll find I don't use the word a lot. The reason is because spiritually, ego is your personality. You can enforce your personality, enforce your will, yeah, and your purpose. So your awareness could then change. Because if something makes you feel good, then it should make you feel happy. If it's not a waste of time if you feel peaceful and happy and joyous, and then you know. If it's negative and low vibe, then you know it's a waste of time. You can send a message on here, or you send a message if you want to. I don't know, because I'm not a runner at the moment. I used to run a lot. For example, like my son last night was going on. He said it was a 4-hour run. That's nearly a marathon level. I said to him, but he must have been in the moment and happy, otherwise he wouldn't do it. Because what's the point of doing something if you're not happy doing it? Doesn't seem logical, but many people do things like that in their life rather than seeking true authenticity and the happiness. You're saying that they're spamming. I wouldn't say they're spamming yet. Spamming earlier was the last person that were constantly repeating themselves. Yeah. Maybe that person didn't feel like I had responded just because I was in mid-flow what I was saying. I'm fine, I'm good anyway, just to let you know. Because my future self will reap the health rewards, I'd much rather be cooking or painting. Synchronicities and signs, I think, you know, giving you a nudge in the right direction when you see them in life. It's glad that you like cooking and painting. Painting is good, drawing, art, any kind of creative, right brain type, creative word, even writing, you know, makes you step out of yourself sometimes. Put you into that right brain thinking rather than left, always in the logic. Sometimes you may need distance from people, and that's okay, and to protect your well-being. You know, protecting your own thoughts, words and actions. And sometimes being quiet in this stillness can be the highest form of living in peace and harmony with yourself. Have I had a lot of synchronicities? Yeah. Signs, symbols. I would, if I was you and you was thinking about that, I would exercise whilst seeing and visioning the future on your run. Imagine the painting that you're going to put together with the feelings in your vision that you get. I have to think what symbols or signs I've had. You know, spiritual things that have gone off. Does it make sense that I need to stop between a lot of decisions? Well, have a look at your choices first before you look at your decisions. If you've got more choices, then look at your options. If you leave your door wide open, then you might not be making your own decisions. Things might happen and you might make mistakes rather than being conscious about them. Well, if I'm an option and you've opened the door, you can close the option and close the door. I don't mind. Truly. I am like that in life. I wouldn't ever want to be someone's option. If I was, I'd gladly say, please don't go there. You know what I mean? I'll be by myself. Truly. I am like that. I have the key. You can't close it. Listen, well, if you actually say that you have lots of options, then like I said, be conscious of your choices, your decisions and choices. You're on a mission. I'm on a mission just to enjoy life, enjoy the moments. You know, I'm just at peace with myself and I'm happy these days. I have been for the last couple of years. Yeah, but we'll get onto that, maybe another topic, but when you say that, that's bordering on like temptation or addiction. It's whether you're addicted yourself or you choose not to. It's like anything. You can open the door, you can choose to look or you don't. You just say, no, I'm not. And that's what today is being conscious of. It's saying whether you're going to say yes or no. Isn't it? The immaturity of who? We all have a bit of an immature side to us. You know, there's a big difference between being childlike and childish. You know, it's good to be childlike. You know, to be humorous, fun. You know, that type of behaviour, that cheekiness. But to be childish is a level of lack of maturity. What do you need clarity on? I might not be the best person to ask. You're on your own mission. You know, you're on your own mission in life, aren't you? If you're on a mission with somebody else, then you're on a joint mission. You're on the path together. I think that's what partnerships are. Otherwise, you're on your own mission in life. So, look for your own opportunities. If opportunities present themselves, then you explore the opportunity, don't you? Unless if it's not right for you, then you say no. But that's where we come back to it, what I said earlier. Do you say yes or do you say no? Do you say yes because you want to? Or do you say yes out of guilt? And then say you didn't mean to, or try to backtrack afterwards? Surely we must be conscious of our decisions and choices. Hello. Then don't miss the opportunities when they present themselves. Whether you feel like it's God-given, whether you think it was a sign, whether you think it's somebody that came in your path for a reason, or an opportunity that presents itself. If it feels right for you, you should know. If it doesn't feel right for you, that's enough. Well, I've just been in a very surreal, peaceful place this weekend, so... But I go with it, because I go with my hormones. I go with my feelings every single day. You know, sometimes the days are better than others, sometimes more positive. You know, I do have a natural positive mindset, being conscious as a spiritual woman for many years. Well, if you wanted to come on my live and be invited on, you're welcome. I don't. When I have the odd guest, or you know, even with my own families, some people want to be on, some people don't want to be on. I have got a friend that sometimes like, oh, I want to go on, but I don't want to, so I say no. Just depends. So all I say is, you know, if you want to be on my live stream, you can always send a little message. Not unless you actually want to come and sit in the kitchen and be on my live stream. Fate and destiny, I believe, are the same thing. So some people prefer to use the word fate. You know, it's not luck, is it? It's not just a random set of numbers and it's the law of chance, is it? It's not luck. But fate and destiny are the same thing, so if something's meant to happen, it will happen. Well. So you think the trees ended up here by chance? You think you ended up alive through chance? You don't think that there was an intention behind you being here? Philosophize over your own meaning, over your own beliefs. Because one thing I can tell you from what you're suggesting is that your beliefs, you're not sure what to believe. Not that you don't know what to believe necessarily, in that you want validated proof because you're exploring options that are outside your beliefs. So it's making you change your perception. And that's one thing that you didn't realise that you was encountering. Just an intuitive mystic giving you some feedback. Your options are whether you want to believe or you don't want to believe. You can choose to believe in yourself or believe in another. No. Hello. What's please for? Hello, lovely lady, please. No, I'm not going to send you a bill. Well, I'm not your love, but you might just be saying that as a term of endearment, so that's okay. Just so we're very clear. You're speaking to a very conscious woman. Not trying to be better. I'm not bitter, but I am better as a woman because I'm constantly improving every single day. Can I correct you? You don't love me because you've only just spoke on a screen, so I don't really believe in that type of behaviour. Just because if you really love me, then you'll be supporting me in another 6 months, another 12 months, yeah? Liking, sharing my videos, making me cups of tea, you know, maybe paying my bills. I don't know. What would you think true love is? Giving back massages every single day. I'm talking on my live stream. We're all talking. We're all philosophising. You can join in the philosophy if you want. You're talking to a Stoic mindset woman that's spiritually adept. You know what I mean? Don't play games. But if the mind games present themselves, then I would always say to people, just watch yourself. Because I figure you out, figure people out. Why would I want to talk to you straight away? I'd like to get to know people first. Well, which do you think is the most important? The physical attraction or the mental attraction? Yeah, but you'll be misinterpreting anyway. I remember I'm a poet. I talk philosophy. I talk in code. I talk a bit sometimes in parables. You have to either get it to understand it. If you don't understand it, then you might be offended by it. If you're offended by it, so what? You know what I mean? My life, my stream. But if you want to philosophize with me about the meaning of life and the purpose and stuff. So I've just said to you, I don't really. What do you want me to say to that type of wording? I think you're in fallacy. If you want to know what fallacy means, fiction. You know what I mean? You're making it up. Whatever it is that you're making up in your head that you've met me with in 2 seconds online, and you know what I mean. But leave you to it. Get you to think about it for a moment. Okay. Somebody that you want to grow with. It's like anything in life. If you're around people that are, you know, judgmental or gossips or just low energy vibe, you can just tell. You know, if you're not used to it spiritually, what happens is you have an awakening that then once you've had these levels of awakening, you can't go back to it. The same types of people, so to speak. But the energy then, from a mental perspective, stimulates you. It changes you, makes you think, helps you grow, you know. So, well, if your heart is broken, brother, just join the path, join the way. You know, we're either your soul tribe or we're not. You know, you can watch the videos. You can understand the meaning of life. You know, getting on well with somebody, you know, that even doing a chore or doing something together is nice. You know, when something doesn't feel negative. But like I said, from a mental perspective, there's somebody, you know, wanting the best for you, but wanting to help improve you, not change you. You know, improve so that in your own self you feel and think differently for yourself. I don't always have a lot of parts, to be fair, I just don't. I'm a doer, but I can't help it. But I have learnt to chill out over years. It's just the way I've been bred, the way I've been raised. But I do know how to relax and wind, chill out, chillax. See it right, relax. What you need to understand, fine sir, is this conversation is about conscious thought, conscious decisions and choices, and in some of this discussion is the conscious decision to say no. So you keep saying please, please, please. Can I just say the word no to you? Would no be enough to make you understand from my perspective that whatever it is that you're asking or that you want, the answer is no? And not to take offence of that, just to understand that myself as a spiritual, mystic woman, I make my own decisions and choices in life, and I have done for a long, long time. Yeah, but the beauty of myself, even as a sister and a warrior in this world, is even if you said something that made me think, I would look at, I'm not a bigot to not look at somebody else's perspective. You know, I always look at other people's perspectives as well as my own. Even though I've got used to making my own decisions and choices, I've had to. I'm a woman that lives on my own. I'm not in my masculine, but I can step into it sometimes in a more assertive, domineering fashion. But I try not to. Don't always want to. Don't always want to be in self-preservation and self-protection mode. Understanding where other people are coming from gives you the sense of empathy. That's why you learn to be empathic, because you get to feel things from other people's perspective. It's just easier to walk it as if you're walking in someone else's shoes. Then you get to see and feel things within oneself in your own energy, that you get to have an understanding how somebody else is perceiving something at that level and at that time, because we certainly don't perceive things the same things in the same way as time goes on. I've already answered your question, normal Pluto way, but there seems to be a lot of begging going on, or, you know, please, 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 but, you know, I'm kindly just saying that I don't know really what you're asking. The communication isn't really clear. I have said no in a normal way, but whatever it is that you wanna suggest. Are you an open book though? Are you an open book enough to let people, or somebody close enough to see those certain chapters that you've been hiding? That is a question to yourself. And to you who finds you really don't love me, right? I wish people wouldn't just brand words like that about. Well, you won't be meeting me, darling. So, you know, if you're in your own illusion for a while, then the only thing I can do, seeing as I said no and you're choosing to ignore me, is I'll just let you carry on if that's easier for you. There are some men that don't respect women and continue on. You know, just say this is a question of you unzipping your trousers right now and deciding that you're going to rape me. And imagine I'm saying no, 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 and I'm making my decision and choice. Would you choose to ignore that? I know I'm going to a real extreme level here in my philosophy, right? I wouldn't be bothered whether you gave me compliments all day long, to be fair. But if I said no to something, which I've already said, and you've ignored it, I could say no again. I could block you. I'm choosing not to, or I could just let you sit in your own fantasy. If that's easier for you. You know, I can make the decision and choice to do the blocking, or, you know, but I'm choosing to speak to you adult to adult in communication to make it clear, you know, what my communication is. So I hope that was a clear enough explanation for you, and let that be enough. Also, as well, in this, protect your well-being. You know, over the years I've come to realise, whether you realise as you get older, whether it's through maturity or not, anybody that truly loves you, cares for you in any kind of way, would not want to hurt you. Would not hurt you, and wouldn't do something that would be hurtful or damaging because they know how they feel. And anybody that's in a relationship that says afterwards, oh, yeah, I do truly love you, and you're sitting there thinking in your own philosophy, trying to pluck the bits of the moments out, it's how it was consistently. Not trying to patch things up. Well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that first, and then we'll carry on. Respecting your own thoughts and your words, even if other people do not respect your words or your actions, it's a sign in itself. There's always little signs and there's big signs. Sometimes we need a big fucking sign. Bang! Don't we? Like, fuck me, I've just got whacked by a big sign. That's okay, I always have a 3-strike rule, which is, you know, if I say no, or, you know, or then enforce another no in some kind of way, you know what I mean? It's like anything. When I've been a boss, when I've been an employer, you know, I give somebody a warning, I give them another warning, then it's out the door. Full stop. Screech to a full stop. Just don't test me. I'm not the type of woman you want to test. I did. I gave him the first strike. I said no, and he continued on. This is a sign of disrespect. So if somebody says they love you, isn't respect a sign of love? And this is why I don't get brought into traps with people, not verbally. It just doesn't happen. From a psychology perspective, whether I am sat with somebody or online, I study words and intentions. So this fine sir obviously doesn't have respect for women because he chose to ignore what I said. And probably even then got off a bit because I said, oh, and if I was in a position I said no in rape, he still continued, not, oh, sorry, madam, or out of a sign of respect of, oh, shit, she's talking about a contentious situation I wouldn't want to be in. But he put himself in there. Decisions and choices. But anybody that says that they love someone wouldn't disrespect someone. Period. And I think that's where we need to call things out for what they are, not for what we want in wishful thinking to be. I'm not really a baseball fan. Used to their own. Sports years ago, I was in my 20s, I used to watch Formula 1. I used to sit there on Sunday afternoon watching Formula 1. But it's probably because I just made sure I sat down in the fart and didn't go anywhere. Well, now you're sorry because you said you understood in the first concept, but you didn't really understand. And this is no disrespect, but whether it's your upbringing, whether it's your culture, whether it's your parents, or whether it's your decision and choice to behave the way that you did, for me, like anything, love is a very high vibration. You know, people can't just turn around and say, oh, I love someone, and then disrespect him. You can't hit someone and say, but I love you now. It's not love. Same as doing something, whether it's a child, a man, a woman, equally. Because I'm an equalist. As a spiritual woman, I believe that life is equal. You know, for a woman and a man. But enough said. I said no straight away. You know, don't get me wrong, if somebody wants to get to know somebody, that's fine. But what I would say to your brother is, online it would take you 2 to 3 years to try to get to know me properly. Because I can have conversations and you really don't get to know me. Just the way I am. If I choose to, in my own self as a conscious creator, if I choose to open my heart up to somebody, then I'm giving you an element of trust, which is love. So I'm giving you a token of my love. And normally it's to see what somebody will do with it. The highest form of respect and love that you can give yourself is being in harmony with yourself. Harmony with your decisions and choices, always. So we're just going to use some phrases here to rewire the mind. I like to rewire the mind every single day and reframe the mind, reframe our way of thinking, philosophize over life, you know. Nothing is concrete, nothing is set in stone, and that's why I come on to my streams and the videos to philosophize in life, you know, and make decisions and choices that I choose to every single day. Let's plant new thoughts, new seeds. So my words are valuable. I don't waste them. I'm not answerable to anybody, but also in the same respect, you know, if somebody chooses to not understand me and I have to go a very long way into a discussion to just start discussing something to get somebody to understand, then there is something wrong in the vibration and the communication. Might be on my part, or might be the person that is not choosing to understand. And this is why sometimes I choose over the years to be less words if I can. You know, no means no. It's probably one of the shortest words in language, isn't it? No. Is any other shorter word than no? But sometimes people don't choose to really listen. So we have to go a long way about explaining something that's really so simple and so direct and so to the point. I don't really answer questions like that. Do I look like a meeting? I'm not eating anything at the moment. I'm on my live stream. I ate earlier. I eat earlier in the day. Give me a second though. I'll be back. Just to finish it off. And that's why it's good to philosophize over just simple things. Yeah, just certain questions about life. You know, what is it all about? What is our purpose? And here's another way to reframe your mind. It is safe for you to speak honestly, even if it disappoints others. And sometimes I say this to people, sometimes, you know, I would rather have your honesty and your brutal honesty, even if it disappoints and upsets me, because I'd rather you be true to yourself. Don't be in something out of guilt. You do something because you want to be there or because you want to do something. You can ask a question if you want. It's not a problem. Every yes I give is from a place that is powerful. Every no I offer from a place of truth, and it is sacred. Remind yourself that every yes you give is from a place of love. Every no is from a place of truth, which is also sacred. And these should be sacred principles within yourself. People don't talk about these very much anymore, but you know, people's virtues, principles and morals, you know, or as we call scruples, used to be important to people. A lot of people don't have those now, so they will cross their own boundaries or their own borders and forget and forsake their own principles and morals and virtues. Temporary high, and then, you know, say a long-term problem or a quick fix, you know, without looking at the whole possible outcome. Well, I think that if you have the highest respect for yourself, you know, if you have the lowest opinion of yourself, then you would struggle. But this way of coaching, this Stoic mindset, this mindfulness is a way of reprogramming yourself and rewiring your mind that you're in a positive mindset. You know. It helps you to just reframe things. Well, let's think about that. Whether morals are measurable. Today, active, warm, relaxed, balanced. That's how I am. So I am today. But that will make me think, where the morals is measurable. Your morals and your principles. You know, your virtues, I think, are different to both your morals and your principles, your scruples. Different. Your virtues are more like an act. The positive acts, the positive actions that you do in life are your virtues. Yeah, because unless if you think very similar or you adopt the same, it's like technically, which it doesn't happen so now, but to give an example, a Christian meeting a Christian would have the same set of morals and principles. You can meet now Christians, Muslims, any kind of religion, and they have different sets of morals and principles. Depending on our beliefs or our boundaries, or how far we'll extend our own boundaries, our own consciousness, or how strict we are. So you begin to rewire old patterns of people pleasing. And a lot of people pleasing could be self-betrayal, you see. You train your mind to see your own peace as the priority in life. As long as you're peaceful and happy. And if you're peaceful and happy, then you could say that the path is right. You're on the right path, even if you're going slow or sometimes we're stationary at the time. You know, you might be looking at something, might be waiting for something to pass. might be just looking at the view. Whatever the human chooses to do. But I think also, as well, as when you're not there to do people pleasing, other than pleasing the people that you care about or the people that you say that you love. If you truly love someone, you show them. You're there for them. Whether I have or whether I haven't wouldn't really matter, would it? It doesn't really matter to the whole philosophy of this conversation, really. Whether I am or whether I'm not, or whether I have been or whether I haven't, doesn't really matter. You know, I'm choosing to think about different things right now. Different topics. My mind is in a different place. It's not thinking about those things. So by reframing our mind, instead of thinking, if I say no, they'll be upset, try, if I say yes when I mean no, I will be upset. I will live out of alignment. And if it hurts both me and the relationship in the long run, then sometimes it's better to say no. Instead of, I have to explain myself so that they'll understand. Or understand the topic or the notion of the conversation. To understand the notion of the conversation is to listen. If you don't listen, how can you understand? Most communication is actually listening. It's not really the talking. But that's why I said last week about arguments. Some, not all, but most arguments are about the not listening. You're not feeling heard by the other person. So you get into an argument to prove your point. I don't really need to speak to you at the moment, or neither do I want to at this moment in time. That's why I didn't invite you up the first time. You know, no disrespect, brother, but I'm really not wanting to have shallow conversation about whether I'm married or not married, or what age I am, or all the real sort of grinding, insulting things to a woman that's of my age and decorum, and also, you know, my religious and spiritual sort of background. So if you wanted to come on live stream just to have that level of conversation, I really would like to have some proper conversation. So that's what I've not invited you on. I'm not saying arguments are good or bad, you know what I mean? But you could even have an argument and raise your voice and raise your tone without actually insulting another. That's why the very truth in this statement is, it's not always what we say, it's how we say it. You could be saying two virtually very identical things, but because you chose to insult the other person or put them down or not appreciate them or in any kind of way, that can make you have a total level of perception, awareness about the other person that wasn't there before. That builds up resentment, builds up things that could turn into moments of hatred, let alone long term. But I think, you know, having a good filter is being conscious of what it is that you're talking about, or what it is that you're saying. Today is a good day. It's absolutely amazing in every single way, from a spiritual woman. You know, the art of affirmations, reframing the mind, my mindset is like a clear sea, crystal clear. Same as everybody should honour their own intuition. I say this quite a lot, honour your own intuition. Would you say your filter is your intuition? Or do you have like a filtering system with human beings or with feelings? You know, your intuition is your feeling centres. It's trusting your heart and your second gut, or as we call in spiritual practice, your solar plexus. You know, because that's the area it comes from, your heart and your gut, where you get this instant feeling, this inner knowing. And isn't it ironic that we have this inner knowing, but then sometimes we go and ask somebody else for the answer to the question that we're philosophizing over, or the feeling, without trusting ourselves? Test yourself when it comes to your own filter. Test yourself. Your intuition's never wrong. It never wrong. Never wrong. It just isn't. I bet you, if you ask yourself every time that you didn't trust your intuition, didn't trust your intuition, you went against it. You thought, nah, go with logic, or go with what my friend said, or go with what they said, not your intuition. Did you regret it and realise you were wrong after the situation? I bet for most people that is a very high possibility. That's why trusting in your intuition doesn't see you wrong. We can all see parts of the jigsaw, but like anything, we can see it a slightly different way. And the way that somebody comprehends something might not be exactly the same as somebody else comprehended it. But that's where we need the patience for somebody to be able to understand, because it doesn't mean that somebody is more intelligent or not. It just means that we all have different levels of awareness and perception. Anybody can understand something because we all technically have got the knowledge inside us anyway. Everybody has. That knowledge is in everyone. So really, we shouldn't be doubting, second-guessing ourselves. But sometimes we choose to, because we forget ourselves. To then the other people on the other spectrum that are talking to themselves internally so negatively that both their body, their cells, their mind, and everything becomes part of the whole environment. Who they are in essence. Honour your intuition without justification. You don't have to justify yourself to anybody. The only people that you'll explain yourself to out of probably respect is your parents, your mother and father, because it says honour and respect your mother and father. That's natural. Your peers, your loved ones and your partner. And even if you really, really love your children like most people say they do, then you treat your children with love and respect. You wouldn't mishandle and cause pain and injury to a child, or make them adopt your ways of thinking and perception, because as we know in our life, our short life, how invariably we can get to the end of it whenever that last breath will be, whether I get another 5 days, 5 years or 50. I could be wrong. And that's why I say to people, I don't know. I'm truthful in that. I'm not, even when I was in financial services, when I was in my 20s, I made the conscious decision right back at that time. I can't sit here and blag my way through a fucking job. I've got to know what I'm doing. But how many people do actually blag their very existence on this earth to pretend that there's something that they're not? And that's why I call people with masks and good acts. Some people can talk a good talk, but as I say, what the fuck is going off in here? But invariably, through intuition, through trusting your gut, you can read through people. You can read intentions on screen, let alone words. And once you trust yourself, you're not second guessing. Reframing your mind is a deep act of compassion for yourself or someone else, because if you choose to change your mindset for the sake of someone else, it's the same as making the decision and choice to not be addicted to booze or whatever it is, because you have that deep level of love and compassion for somebody else that you're choosing to change, firstly for yourself, and because that love that you have for another. When you can shift your story when you're coming from fear, and that's why whenever I do speak about situations, when I choose to, I'm not coming from a place of fear, not anymore. I'm coming from a place of empowerment, how I overcame. You know, how I use spiritual Stoic mindsets and conscious thinking in my meditations to readdress my thoughts. Don't just think that's the way we're meant to think. You know, if something doesn't feel right now, because I am a positive thinker, I know. You know, if I was thinking something and I think, I know it's just not the way I think. So when somebody talks in a particular way, it's in their mindset, the way they're thinking, it isn't going to comprehend vibrationally. It's not going to be a match. You can't make something be a match. It's like guys come on here and then say, you know, or for example, you know, when I get to know you, or I want to be in a relationship, or I want to look straight away, with no comprehension that vibrationally there's no match there. And it's the same with your own life. It's being in harmony with your own decisions and choices. Somebody else doesn't have to get it. It doesn't even have to match what they do. Everybody's life is different. But if you learn more to please yourself and not please others, you know, and be more rooted in your own truth, you find that you feel more balanced, more calm, more clarity. Spiritual people, whether they're seers, mystics, stoics, philosophers, people of the past history, and people in the present, and people like ourselves, the only thing that's within our power is our own mind. The power of our perceptions, our choices, and our speech. First say to yourself, what would you be? And then do what you have to do to become it. How many of us do it automatically with things in our life that we're not thinking we've done it, but you've done it? Because you've had to say to yourself, you've had to vision yourself, you've had to recite it, you've had to rehearse it till it would be, and then you've done what it takes to do it. So why fear the what ifs or the maybes instead of believing how it will be and what you have to do to make that happen? I think one of the things about, and I've not really brought it up into this discussion today, but going slightly into it, is accountability, being accountable. You know, it's actually being accountable for oneself, for your decisions and choices. You know, taking responsibility. Imagine this is your practice every single day. You were practicing something like everybody wants to practice, whether it's at baseball, basketball, whether you want to practice at being a dancer, whether you want to practice at whatever it may be. But I tell you, one biggest thing that people don't do is trying to be a better human being than the one that they see. Hello. But you can decide. Right here, right now. Today, tomorrow. You can decide the person that you wish to be, that you vision to be, that you're going to be, and that you're going to change. And you're going to do it deliberately, calmly, honestly, clearly. Then you act. You stop being convenient for others at the cost of your soul. You decide what's important with your time, knowing that you're not the controller of time. Time is a gift that is given to us. Remind yourself, and the irony of it is you don't technically change. You're not really changing who you are. You're simply honouring who you are. You're honouring the true you. When you say, nah, I don't like that, it's not, nah, oh yeah, I like it. Confusing. It's, no, I don't like it. You don't have to explain yourself why you don't like it if you choose not to. You could if you wanted to, but you don't have to. If you just don't like it, it's a no, it's a no. If it's a yes, the same goes. Your decision to choice. Start honouring yourself, your words, your actions, until they become aligned with who you are. This is your return. It's not really a transformation, but you see it as such, as because it can be quite scary when you start feeling and sensing the new version of you, this change. For example, like many years ago, and some of you may have experienced it, but say fundamentally it does feel like a change. So you've changed a lot. You might have changed your hair, you might have changed your style, you might have changed your swagger, you might have changed, you know what I mean? You might have changed your house, you might have changed it, you might have changed your job, whatever it may be. But the people that are negative will not want you to. They'll want to drag you down, they'll want to pull you down, they'll want to strike you, they'll want to tell you any other reason why something or someone is not good for you. But you haven't really changed. You just chose deliberately and honestly to be authentic with yourself. So in the realm of spirit, your words shape your world. Our thoughts are powerful. They go out into the collective consciousness, but people forget this, you see, because in 3D world we're just alive, dead, and then like we're gone sort of thing. But when you start to see things in the realm of spirit, philosophizing over the shape of your world, you start to realize that your thoughts do go out into the collective consciousness. Your thoughts and your words can affect other people, other places. Otherwise, Dr. Emoto and the greats and the ancients wouldn't have proved the power of healing prayer and water with positive thoughts to clear something, or to a tumour to disappear, or to somebody have a miraculous healing, let alone feeling better around the company of others. These things can be proven scientifically, but even when I first started talking about them 20 years ago, about consciousness and meditation and mindfulness, people probably thought, just a bit way out there, a bit fucking, crazy, you know, or how far down rabbit hole she gone. You can have a Kundalini awakening, same as you can just have a level of awakening of awareness. There's different levels. But we all see parts of the world and a whole slightly different. It's what makes us unique. That's why God made us in our own image. Not in the image of God, because nobody's seen God. But also, why would God make everybody the same as him? God made us so uniquely similar, the same, from a species perspective, but so uniquely different in our DNA. That every single person's DNA is unique to them. That we can't just say we're here randomly. It's a life of chance. I don't believe that's so. Speak life into your own reality. Speak life into your own reality. If you want to be peaceful, speak more peacefully. If you want to have a more peaceful life in your home, enforce more boundaries. I think more and more people, before they get into relationships or in any kind of way, they should give the worst. They should put it all on the bloody table. Oh, here's this. Oh, and then I'll just chuck that on for good measure, you know. But ask the right questions about finances, about money, not because someone's trying to be better than the other, but because you're trying to work out some common ground. The do's, the don'ts, the ifs, the whats, the maybes. Because if there are things that fundamentally are a no-go straight away, you don't want to be finding out 6-12 months down the line, I didn't know this, or I didn't realise you thought like this, or... But that's why I even think, even in relationships, it's good to have a good mental sit down, whether it's about your finances. You know, me being in financial services for years, it's not something that I would avoid. You know, having to consciously manage my own money and money of businesses. You know, myself, I have a moral stance on my own virtues. So I think that's why even my parents have said, you know, I'm more of a godly woman. Not because I try to preach to the perverted, not because I judge, but because I have that own standard in myself. I don't necessarily say to somebody I do or I don't want to know you because you don't have the same standard. Same as I wouldn't necessarily want to know or not know somebody that were homeless. That's why I always say to people that I don't look at somebody for their title or, you know, their badge or anything like that. I look at the human soul and who they are. And most of all, the morals and principles. That's why if you look for somebody for their character and behaviour, whether that's in personal or whether that's in business and life, you know, what are those good qualities? What are the wants you want for yourself and for others? If you was looking at a mini-me, which your child technically is a mini-me, you'd want them to have the best of the best, wouldn't you? Not the worst of something, and then like you've got to work it out again when they're older, and thinking, oh well, we've just repeated another, and repeated it. And I think that's why I made a decision before I even became a mother myself, was that I wasn't going to repeat history. And that's why in the last 2-3 years I'll say to people, I've been on the path that's less travelled. Because I've not necessarily, even in healing circles, when I started doing metaphysical healing and spiritual stuff through massage years ago, that's when it was all coming through, was through my massage. It's understanding that we are a spirit, and there are things that are seen and unseen that we know are real, but sometimes we can't describe them. But they shape your world and your reality. And I do think most spiritual religious things, in all fairness, when you truly come to the heart of the divine matter in anything like that, make you a better human being, not worse. And that's why over the years I've philosophised over like religion. Why does religion have such a bad rap? And it's not, it's the human being. Really, we should be judging the human being, not the religion. But we forget that sometimes, if we really wanted to get into that judgmental place. Remind yourself that this is your mind over matter journey, choosing your mental state over immediate discomfort. So you might choose a temporary, immediate discomfort for the long-term peace. You might say, look, we'll just get this out of the way, because then most people avoid things, especially from an emotional perspective of discomfort, because we imagine in our own minds something, a scenario. But invariably when we get to that destination, if we then decide to get over the comfort of bracing it, isn't exactly what we thought out in the first place. It's completely different. But also you could choose your mental state before you go into something, before you do something. choosing your inner equilibrium over external approval, and choosing the long game over self-respect, over the fleeting high and pleasing of others. Don't get me wrong, I love, like I said, I'm very childlike and I love to get a bit giddy and fun. But I only like fun if it has that element of self-respect. If self-respect or respect of others goes out the window, I don't find it fun. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, maybe I've got values, but that's where you can start looking at your own wants and don't wants within your purpose, action and will, and decide what it is that you want for yourself that includes your virtues and your principles. And it's all tied up, it's all tied in. It just gets you to look at it even deeper than surface level. So food for thought for today. Where am I saying yes? Where am I saying yes when I truly long to say no? Think about that one. Where am I saying yes where I truly long to say no? Where have I abandoned my own peace to maintain someone else's comfort? What would happen if I started to trust that my no is just as holy as my yes? A positive ending. May you walk every single day, moment to moment, with a quieter mind, with a more relaxed peace of mind, that inner, stronger heart, a spirit that is unafraid to honour your own needs. Respect yourself most of all. Love yourself enough to guard your energy sometimes, and that is the art of saying yes and saying no. I think I've done for today. My philosophy, my mantra, my poetry in motion. So remind yourself before I go, living in harmony doesn't necessarily mean pleasing everyone. It means living agreement with your own soul. That's why we have agreements and contracts. We have verbal contracts, written contracts. But how many people do truly believe in what they say? Or they just say things they didn't mean anyway. Make you think. What was the point of saying them? Because we're judged by what we think, what we do. And our Earth, she feels it too. And people forget that. You know, and it has been proven time and time and again and through scientific means, but you know, I suppose when you speak about it spiritually, people think it's all a bit of woo-woo, pseudoscience and a bit out there, man. You know what I mean? But it's not. Not really. Not when you think about it deeply. So, with that, take a deep breath, smile today, step back on your path. I hope you enjoyed, and you are right where you need to be. You are right where you need to be. Learning, growing, unlearning, unknowing, returning to yourself, being accountable. Decisions and choices are yours, luminous soul. Find your tribe. Find more if you can. But even if you walk on your own, it's the most sacred journey of all. Remind yourself of that. So, till next time, peace and blessings, peace and blessings, peace and blessings to those that have enjoyed today. I will feel and think about some more topics. I do every single day. Sometimes it's by some of the things that you give me in feedback. Sometimes it might be something that I've seen. Some things, it may come close to my heart. It just depends. But I try to come from a very open perspective rather than sort of a selfish perspective. You know, because I've started over the awareness of my own conscious understanding over the last 5-7 years is that perceptions always change. We're always evolving and changing. but we're not fundamentally who we are inside. You can't change that. You know, who we are vibrationally. I always knew growing up that I was a little bit different because I thought differently and thought positive. But over the years, you know, I've improved. And I have that positive mindset, so it takes a lot to get me down. Even if I can see it, I can snap out of it pretty quick. Things don't floor me the same as they used to, because within my own emotional intelligence, I trust my own feelings and intuition before that runs away with itself. Don't get me wrong, I can master my emotions, but sometimes I'll let them to wild and be free, because that's where you get to harness who you truly are, you know, and having that own authority over your life. Being the master, mastering oneself. Yeah, and that's the truest journey. If you ask any spiritual philosopher, guru, from eons back to even the most recent ones, they'll say the most spiritual journey you can go on is mastering yourself. So until next time in space, peace and blessings. Remember, you are amazing, you are beautiful, right? And sometimes we just need that reminder. So till next time. Thank you. Good evening.